o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good evening. Thanks for coming. I'm Lee Schultz. I'm the city engineer for the city of Southfield, and OHM Advisors, they are the engineering firm that did the plan design, and they'll be overseeing construction. So we have a couple people from OHM here as well. This is for our 2025-26 South Area Water Main and Pavement Improvements project. So not every street has the same work going on. So the notice that you received in the mail covers, the high-level details, and I'm just going to dig in a little bit more. If you could please save all questions for the end. We are recording this presentation, and this should be airing on Cable 15 by early next week. On YouTube is where they air their programming. And we do like just to have record of the number of people who attend. So if you didn't sign in on your way in on the table out in the hall, please do so on your way out. I appreciate that. So we're just going to be reviewing the existing conditions in the different neighborhoods and what the proposed improvements are, and then what to expect during construction, and then go over some construction contact information, and we'll answer questions here. And when this is complete, we've got a couple sets of the plans. If there's something of particular concern in front of your house that you would like to see what's going on, we've got all the detailed drawings here, and we'll just ask you to line up same set of plans on each table and answer any detailed questions you have. So all of the roads in this program are all asphalt roads. HMA, sometimes that acronym you'll see slipped in here and there, that stands for hot mix asphalt, just more of an industry term. So I try and just say asphalt at these meetings so you all know what I'm talking about, but now you get to learn what HMA is. So we have our roads in these areas, not all in very poor condition, but we go from fair condition to poor condition, and depending on what street or what block you're on here. Generally, we have no shoulder or curbs in these areas, so it was a good way for us to package these roads up together. It's a very large project. When we package it together, we tend to get good economy of scale, good bid pricing. Makes it very attractive for our underground contractors. There's a variety of drainage situations. We have some enclosed ditches out there and some ditches that are open, some ditches that probably are supposed to be open and have kind of filled in over the years, which we have lots of that around Southfield as well. The water mains where we are proposing to replace these are aged, and we have been experiencing frequent occurrences of water main breaks. So this is definitely also a level of service type of project for your water main service. So overall, this is an $11.9 million project. We're in 3 different sections of the city, and depending on what street you're on, some streets we're doing asphalt rehabilitation, a couple different methods. We've got asphalt reconstruction, certainly water main replacement, and really just relatively minor stormwater improvements that we'll be doing. The schedule, we really just got the contractor on board. Contract books are being executed right now, but we anticipate the start of August 2025 for the Section 34. And Section 34 is the Mahon, Wallace, and Fraser, Prescott area right there. And in Section 30 and 35, both of those we anticipate will start in September of this year. Section 30, that should be completed just this construction season. So by next spring, really just doing a little more restoration touch-ups. But the other Section 35 in particular, it's a large project area with a lot of underground. We'll get into some more details for each section during the presentation. So here's Section 30. So Section 30 does not have water main improvements. This is a simple asphalt road rehabilitation on Edgemont and Glen Erie, We're going to pulverize the existing asphalt pavement and then overlay with 2 layers of new asphalt. Because we are overlaying that pulverized material, it is going to elevate the road by just a few inches, which means that we will be getting into driveway approaches and replacing driveway approaches. They're generally replaced in kind, meaning if you've got a concrete approach, we're going to put back concrete. If you have asphalt, we're putting back asphalt. And then there's just some minor restoration right along the road edge, since we don't have any underground work that shouldn't extend too far from the edge of the road. In section 34, we've got road rehabilitation on Mahon, Wallace, Fraser, and Donovan Court. Similar as the last section where we're pulverizing and overlaying here. The asphalt reconstruction will occur on Prescott, just that road is deteriorated to the point that it really needs to be fully reconstructed, and we do need to correct some drainage issues that we have over there adjacent to the park. We are replacing water main only along Mahon. The other streets have had water main lining several years back. 12, 15 or so years ago, there's a water main lining project, which is a structural rehabilitation method for water mains, so the water main's in good shape on the other streets. We have some drainage improvements along all through Mahon, Wallace, and Prescott, and we've got 2 culverts that we're going to be replacing. And when we say culverts, we don't mean culverts under your driveways. We mean like a cross culvert that goes under the road. So there's 2 pretty large culverts in Wallace that we're going to be replacing. Again, on these streets, the driveway approaches are expected to all be repaved, at least as far back as we need to go to meet the new grade of the road surface. We'll have a little more restoration depending on if there's water main on your street. That just means a little heavier impacts beyond the road edge, but restoration of all the impacted lawns and irrigation systems. A lot of people have irrigation in the right-of-way. Those are generally just included, and we are responsible, we hold the contractor responsible to make those repairs. Responsible, he's getting paid for it. So, but we do pay the contractor to make those irrigation repairs when we've got functioning irrigation systems. In section 35, this is our largest area of work. All of these streets are getting water main replacement. And the water main replacement is primarily by open cut methods. We do have one section where we are directionally drilling. So at the south end of Buttercrest, we're directionally drilling there between, I need to see the words bigger, between Greenwald and Midway. And that's really just because on Midway there, that's one big long street and that's one big long water main. If there's a break anywhere on that water main currently, that entire half-mile of road gets shut down, out of service. So we're going to make a connection there, which is, a nice midway point with a couple valves. That way in the future, if there's a break, we're taking half the number of people out of service to make our repairs. So the majority of roads in these areas will be, again, that pulverized and asphalt overlay. We do have Star Lane and Woodville that will be rehabbed with full depth mill, where we mill out all of the existing asphalt and then put back brand new asphalt. Newport and Midway are scheduled to be fully reconstructed. When we say fully reconstructed, we mean that we're also putting in a new stone base under the asphalt. So we're really digging down, about 8 inches or so below the surface of the asphalt pavement. So just some minor areas of drainage improvements. We really are just doing this only where it's needed. We do work with our Streets and Highway Department to identify where there are existing drainage issues that they're wanting us to address with the project, and just really to control costs. So some of these areas have well-draining soils, and even if the ditches had filled in a little bit, if it's not creating a problem, we're not looking to open the ditches all back up, really only doing that where we absolutely have to. Again, in these areas, the majority of the existing driveways will be replaced. The exceptions are primarily on Star Lane and Woodwell because we are removing, milling, and taking away that existing asphalt. Most of those driveways we won't need to touch because we're not going to be changing the elevation of the road. I did want to note, we do have, there's several areas, particularly, what are some of the streets? On Nadal, I believe it is, that have these little concrete kind of edges, ribbons, shoulders, I don't know exactly what they're supposed to be, but on the edge of the road, a lot of these in these areas are going to be impacted and they're going to be removed and we are not putting them back. So I'm not really sure exactly what the purpose is, but from the structure of the road, they don't serve any purpose. On Star Lane and Woodwell, there are several of them that we're not touching because we're keeping the road at the same elevation. So if they're in good shape, we're going to try to avoid them and not cause any damage. But on most of the streets where we're doing work, we are impacting those and they'll be removed. So during the construction, particularly if you're on a street that's having the water main replacement, or if you're on maybe a corner and the next street has it, depending on where your water service is connected, you will certainly be experiencing some water service interruptions. We will provide written notification ahead of those scheduled water shutoffs. We do like to remind people that we're replacing this water main for a reason. Sometimes when we're working around them, we do get accidental breaks. So if you are without water, without notice, you can give us a call to be sure, but chances are there was a water main break and we'll just be, getting everyone back in service as quickly as possible. We would never leave for the day without everyone's water service being turned back on. Every once in a blue moon, someone is connected somewhere different than we were expecting and someone doesn't have their water service on. If the contractors are moving a little slow and we said the water should be back on by 4 and it's 5, if you see them still working, don't worry about it. They are still out there because they're getting everyone turned back on. If the contractors are gone and you do not have water service, please call us, like any one of the phone numbers on your list. Or if you're having trouble getting in touch with anyone, you can always call the police department's non-emergency number and we'll get someone out, as soon as possible and get your water turned back on. We would never intentionally leave you without water overnight. So during the project, the local traffic, we are, of course, lots of people live here. People need to get in and out of their home. So we will be maintaining traffic at all times, but sometimes depending on what the actual operation is going on in front of your property, there definitely can be delays. I generally tell people, it shouldn't be more than 10 minutes, but if you see a contractor working on one end and that's the direction you always go, and you can go the other way, just try to avoid them as best you can. We try to minimize the delays to people. If cars come up, hopefully not more than 10 minutes, and the contractors may be loading or unloading something that they have to finish, and then they are expected to move out of the way. And certainly that's bigger impacts with the water main because we're trenching and excavating down. Driveway closures, it's really the concrete driveways that can be more of a challenge because you can be out of your driveway for about 2 weeks, sometimes 3, depending on the contractor's schedule, because when they're doing removals all the way down the street, and then they're getting it prepped for the new concrete. So it's a multi-day operation to get that down, and then we want that to make sure that's fully cured. We'll barrel off your driveway approaches that are concrete when they're curing, and then we will remove the barrels. The contractor will, or our project team will, once we have strength. So we do test the concrete, and as soon as it's testing strong enough, then we'll remove those barrels. That means you're free to get back in your driveway. Typically 5 to 10 days, but a lot can depend on the weather. Southfield, I know Southfield has their overnight parking ordinance. During the project, I communicate with the code enforcement department to not enforce the overnight parking in these neighborhoods because of all the work we're doing and how people are sometimes out of their driveways. If you are parked on the road overnight, give us a call, the project team. You can call me in the engineering department, and I'll speak with code enforcement, and we can get that ticket waived for you. Accidents, just I've seen that's happened before when they weren't supposed to enforce, and people receive some tickets, but we'll take care of it. If you've got neighbors that have an asphalt approach and maybe have circle drives, there's quite a few circle drives in different areas of this project. You know, if you know your neighbor and they're willing to like share a drive approach, maybe you can just park in your neighbor's driveway. But we would just leave that up to you to work that out with your neighbors if you so choose. So the open cut water main, we say open cut, it's just the typical old-fashioned way of replacing pipes. So they're trenching down. Our water mains are about 5.5 feet deep, and you'll see all of the hydrants are going to be replaced. There'll be new valves. That's the big structure you see there. You know, up at the top, it's just a little manhole cover. Down below, it's typically a 4-foot diameter structure. So that's all this pipe. It's C909 PVC water main that we're installing. All your existing water services. As long as they appear to be in good shape, which most of them are, the city will just plan to disconnect from the old main when the new main's all tested and ready for service, and just jumper it right over to the new main. We're not necessarily replacing the services all the way up to the shut-off box. As we work, we're not expecting to find lead lines in these neighborhoods, but if we do, we work with the Public Works Department, so either our contractor or a contractor that Public Works already has under contract will be contacting the property owners. Once we find that, we will be replacing it, and the state law requires that replacement to go all the way into the home. So we'll be coordinating that with you to get that, to get any lead service lines fully replaced. It's best time to do it. We're out there digging anyway, and by law, we're not really allowed to leave that half and half between the shut-off side, the city side of the service, and the homeowner's side. We're now responsible to replace that all the way into the house. Just some other questions that frequently come up. This is a large project area. There are several areas where we have tree removals. Trees, Southfield's a tree city. We love our trees. There are several areas where where if we have a lot of mature trees that are in good condition, where we've relocated the water main to just be under the roadway so that we're not taking down a lot of trees, but at some locations, tree removals are necessary just so that we can get our water main and our valves into the right places. You will see some trees marked before removals. If you have any questions, if you've got a question about something, a particular tree in front of your house that's in the public right-of-way and that you're concerned about, you can always take a look at the end of the project, and we can let you know if it's scheduled for removal or not. Mail service will be maintained. Occasionally, with the post office, there might be a day or something that you get missed if we've got a bunch of activity going on somewhere that's obstructing a mailbox. But if you're missing more than one day of mail service, let us know. We will work with the local postal carrier, do whatever we can to make sure that they're getting where they need to go to get people's mail delivered and picked up. Similar situation with trash. Although trash should not be missed. So if trash does get mixed, sometimes we'll have them come back later in the same day. If there's a specific area that they can't get in, definitely give us a call, or you can call our Department of Public Works that you would normally call if a trash pickup is missed. School buses, so we do communicate with Southfield Public Schools once in the fall, once the school season is back going. They may decide to modify some routes and pickup locations. Any changes to the bus routes or pickups will be communicated by the schools. And landscape restoration. This is often one of our biggest challenges. We've got nearly a $12 million project, and getting that grass to grow at the end is sometimes the most challenging, drawn-out part of the job. So, but it is included. The contractor, that's usually what holds our contracts open the longest, because it can take 2, sometimes 3 seasons for us to accept that we have enough restoration growth to find that acceptable. If you have irrigation, please use it. That definitely helps. The contractor will undoubtedly be doing some watering, but they will water every couple days frequently and not out there every day. And I just think that if you get water on it every day, that's just gonna more quickly fill back in and start looking like the rest of your turf grass. Anything in the right-of-way, so if there's certain plants or flowers, we do not replace landscaping that's in the public right-of-way. That includes trees as well, but if you've got a prized rose bush or something in the public right-of-way that's going to be disrupted, we would just recommend that you dig it out before we get there, and you can put it elsewhere on your property, or you can put it back when we're done. But we will not be replacing that type of landscaping in the public right-of-way. That's really just to control costs for the project. Like I said, irrigation repairs are included with the project, and things like pavers. I'm not sure how many pavers. Sometimes people have done pavers, like a driveway approach pavers, things like that. We will not replace pavers in the right-of-way. So we will reach out to you if we are removing driveway approaches that are pavers to see, do you want us to remove those and set the bricks aside? You can have someone do that, or we are happy to just put it back in concrete or asphalt, whichever you choose. Smaller rocks, if it's like small boulders, small enough that you can pick up and move them, please do so. Sometimes they disappear during construction, so sometimes people will line the edge of the grass just to keep cars and stuff from parking on those. If they're small enough and you can move them, we ask that you do that ahead of time. If it's something heavy, we will just roll them back with the heavy equipment back onto the property away from our work area. And you might need to remind us, but we don't want them too close to the edge of the road, but depending on where they were, we're likely to push them back into a spot that's a good spot for you and still works for the city. So on your notices that you received, you'll see our project engineer, OHM advisors, Kara Parks. She couldn't be here this evening, but she's the main project engineer that oversees construction. So it's her phone number and email that is on the notices. And really, it's like, you can always call the engineering department, but when you call us, we're basically taking the information and then sending an email to Kara. So if you reach her directly, that is really the most prompt way to have any concerns responded to. And the contractor is Vertiter Contracting. They've done several projects in the city over the years. They're a good contractor. They're one of our more tidy contractors, so we should have a nice, clean work area. There's still going to be dust, though, because construction is dusty. There's not really any avoiding that. There is dust control that they do oftentimes if it's very dry, but that may be done once a day, and if it's a real dry day, it can still get dusty during the daytime. I think I'd mentioned by early next week, this will be airing this presentation on Southfield Cable 15. It can be found on YouTube under Southfield Now. This will be episode 102. And if you didn't sign in on the sign-in sheets that's out in the hall on your way in, please do so on your way out. And before we come up to look at plans, if anyone's interested to see what's happening in front of their house, I'm happy to answer questions.